got the text? You're not answering. So
Yes, Dada. Yes, Dada. Just I'm opening. Just Dada. 1 minute, Dada. Just.
okay, okay.
The supra-terrestrial existence is also a truth of being. For the material is not the only plane of our existence. Other planes of consciousness there are to which we can attain and which have already their hidden links with us, not to reach up to whatever greater regions of the soul are open to us, not to have the experience of them, not to know and manifest their law in ourselves is to fall short of the height and fullness of our being. But worlds of a higher consciousness are not the only possible scene and habitation of the perfected soul, nor can we find in any unchanging typal world the final or total sense of the spirit's self-expression in the cosmos. The material world, this art, this human life are a part of the spirit's self-expression and have their divine possibility. That possibility is evolutionary and it contains the possibilities of all the other worlds in it, unrealized but realizable. Earth's life is not a lapse into the mire of something undivine, vain and measurable, offered by some power to itself as a spectacle or to the embodied soul as a thing to be suffered and then cast away from it. It is the scene of the evolutionary unfolding of the being which moves towards the revelation of a supreme spiritual light and power and joy and oneness, but includes in it also the manifold diversity of the self-achieving spirit. There is an all-seeing purpose in the terrestrial creation. A divine plan is working itself out through its contradictions and perplexities, which are a sign of the many-sided achievement towards which are being led the soul's growth and the endeavor of nature.
Okay, so he is starting with the supra-terrestrial existence. So we must have a very clear idea of what he's talking about. Remember the three planes of existence, okay? So first is the terrestrial plane. The terrestrial plane is our normal plane in which we live, the physical material world, okay? In which we are in ignorance. That's a terrestrial plane. And he has discussed that the possibilities of the materialist having some ideal and aim in life. We have discussed that in plenty, and we will not go into that right now. There can be some idealism, okay? They can do something for humanity, okay? Like for instance, I can help people if I'm a little idealistic. I may be materialistic, but I can be idealistic. I can help people. I can make, I can do charity works, okay? I can invent something new which everybody will use, like TV or mobile. Then you have done something useful for mankind, even though you are a materialist. Then the other is the wanting to help others in a different way. Open a home for the poor people, okay, or the hospital. So these are also things which the materialist can do. These are materialist. Then comes to the supra-terrestrial. Now, supra-terrestrial is the plane which is just above the earth. Terrestrial means earth. So supra-terrestrial means the spiritual planes of consciousness, okay, which are the level 2. Okay, level 2. Then Shiva speaks of the supra-cosmic, above the cosmos, and that is level 3. So keep these terms very clearly in your mind. He is now discussing the supra-terrestrial existence. In other words, the spiritual planes of consciousness. Okay? Higher mind, lower mind, intuitive mind, over mind. The supra-terrestrial existence is also a truth of being. Although it may be a lesser truth of being, still it's a truth of being. Okay? Even the physical world is a truth of being. Other planes of consciousness there are to which we can attain and which have already their hidden links with us. If you remember the links, he has told us that Sat becomes matter, Chit Shakti becomes the vital, and the Ananda becomes the psychic being, and the supramental becomes the mind. So there is a link. There are many who say that there is no link at all between the divine and the physical earth. But Srivastava is very clear that there is a connection and there is a diminution. From the top to the bottom, there is a diminution, but they are truths and they are also the divine in a modified form. Okay, so other planes of consciousness there are to which we can attain and which have already their hidden links with us. Okay? Not to reach up to whatever greater regions of the soul are open to us. Okay? We need not. If you are a materialist, you will not do that. Okay? But Srivastava is saying, if you do that, if you don't reach these higher planes, then the purpose of life is not served and your perfection at the lower level is not complete. Okay? His prose is a little, now he is using the negative form. Very often he uses the negative form. Here also he is doing the same. Not to reach up to whatever greater regions of the soul are open to us. They are open, but you are not going. Not to have the experience of them, not to know and manifest their law in ourselves, is to fall short of the height and fullness of our being. In other words, if you want the fullness of your being, then you have to go to the highest level, and otherwise you will fall short. That's what he's saying. Okay? Is to fall short of the height and fullness of our being. You have to go to whatever your soul is capable of. Mind you, he is not saying supramental. He is saying whatever your soul is capable of. Not to reach up to whatever greater region of the soul are open to us is to fall short. Okay? So your soul, and in the beginning, in the initial stages, is not capable of the supermind. Certainly not. But it is capable of spiritual planes of consciousness. So you should go up to that. Whatever your soul is capable of, you have to go up to that level for completeness. That's what it said. Okay? Not to have the experience of them, not to know and manifest their law in ourselves, is to fall short of the height and fullness of our being. So Abhay is not saying only realization. He is saying even experience is good enough. Okay? Not to have the experience of them. Okay? Not to know and manifest their law in ourselves. And that's the greatest. So here you can very clearly see that there is a gradation. The first is not to have the experience of them. Okay? So suppose your soul is capable of spiritual consciousness, but you don't go, you have not fulfilled your life. That's what I'm saying. Next is not to know and manifest their law in ourselves. That is the bring down what you have experienced in the spiritual planes, bring it down into your body-mind life. Then know and manifest that law in ourselves. Manifest means it is coming down into your body-mind life. Then also you are short. That's what I say. But the word, in other words, whatever you are capable of, you must reach. If you don't reach what you are capable of, then your life is not fulfilled. That's what basically what he's saying. He's not telling you the level to which you have to rise, because that depends upon the soul. Okay? I read the next sentence. But worlds of a higher consciousnness are not the only possible scene and habitation of the perfected soul. Okay? No, only higher worlds. Worlds of a higher consciousness are not the only possible scene and habitation. He is talking about level 2. Okay? The terrestrial, supra-terrestrial, are not the only possible scene. What does he mean? There is another one, level 3, which is even higher. Okay? So that's what he's saying. Nor can we find in any unchanging typal world the final, this one. Yeah. Nor can we find in any unchanging typal world the final and total sense of the spirit self-expression. So which are the unchanging and typal worlds? Very clearly, all the planes above the earth are all typal worlds. That means there is no evolution in those worlds. The vital world is static. Okay? There are beings that move in it, but there is no evolution. It is unchanging and typal. Okay? So evolution is there only when there is movement, and movement is there only at the physical level. So evolution is possible only here. Evolution is not possible at the higher levels, but we must make a small concession. We have to say that there is a an evolution, but it's a very, 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 very slow evolution. Even in the higher mind, if you stay put in the higher mind or the element mind forever, if you decide that you want to be there forever, some sort of evolution is there, but a very, very slow one, because there is no evolution there. It's a very slow evolution. Okay? Because it reminds me, see, Vivekananda, he, after rising to the superior planes of consciousness, he had the knowledge of the supermind. And he came and gave that knowledge to Sri in jail. So there was an understanding after he rose to that level. Okay? But worlds of a higher consciousness are not the only possible scene and habitation of a perfect soul. Nor can we find in any unchanging typal world all the typal worlds above. Higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind. Even the vital world and the mental world are typal. Okay? Would find typal world the final or total sense of the spirit self-expression in the cosmos. So where will you find the final and total sense of the spirit's self-expression in the cosmos? Only at the supramental level. When you go, then it is possible to manifest all those things in the material world. The material world, this earth, this human life, are a part of the spirit's self-expression and have their divine possibility. Many are saying there is no possibility here. The imperfection in the physical world is permanent. Sri Lanka does not agree, because very obviously there is an evolution. And if there is an evolution, how can it be permanently imperfect? Not possible. The imperfection also is evolutionary. It is slowly, slowly becoming more and more perfect. Material world, this earth, this human life are a part of the spirit's self-expression and have their divine possibility. And what is that possibility? So I'm going to explain. That possibility is evolutionary and have their divine, that possibility is evolutionary and it contains the possibility of all the other worlds in it. In other words, the perfection that is available in the higher mind can be achieved by evolution in the physical world. The perfection of the living mind, overmind, also can be achieved in the physical world by evolution. May not have happened yet, but it can happen. Okay? So, have their divine possibility. That possibility is evolutionary and it contains the possibilities of all the other worlds in it. Unrealized, but realizable. Earth's life is not a lapse into the mire of something undivine, vain and miserable, offered by some power to itself as a spectacle, or to the embodied soul as a thing to be suffered and then cast away from it. This is the theory of the Buddhists and the Mayavadins. They say the physical world, permanently undivine, so all you have to do is to cast away from it. Then what is the use of it? It's a training ground. It's a training ground for the soul. Okay? To be suffered and then cast away. It is a scene of an evolution unfolding of the being which moves towards the revelation of a supreme spiritual light and power and joy and oneness. Swamdhara doesn't say very simple things. He said there can be a spiritual light, there can be power, there can be joy and also oneness. But includes in it also the manifold diversity of the self-achieving spirit. The spirit is infinite and its qualities are also infinite. Not only in light and power and joy and oneness, but in every way. So, all that is possible in the physical world. There is an all-seeing purpose in the terrestrial creation. We don't see the purpose, but the divine is seeing past, present, future, and he is seeing very clearly the evolutionary, in fact it's his own will, the evolutionary unfolding of the being which moves towards the revelation of a supreme spiritual light and power and joy and oneness. One day, the evolution will throw up all the higher possibilities. It will manifest in the physical world, but includes in it also the manifold diversity of the self-achieving spirit. There is an all-seeing purpose in the terrestrial creation. It is not an undivine creation. A divine plan is working itself out through its contradictions and perplexities. The contradictions are the dualities in the physical world and the perplexities. You are very often perplexed by things. Why is there suffering in the physical world? Why is there so much of falsehood? So these are things which perplex you, but they have a purpose, which are a sign of the many-sided achievement towards which are being led the soul's growth and the endeavor of nature. Not only the individual soul's growth, but also the universal nature also is slowly going towards that possibility of bringing down the perfection of the higher planes into the physical world. That's what is saying. Now we can go to the next one. It is true that the soul can ascend into worlds. No? One more, one of you has to read. Seema read just now. So Kiran, if you have the text, you can read. Oh, Yasmin also is there, but she says you won't be there.
Yes. It is true that the soul
I'm
can
there for a very short time.
Okay,
Just a short time.
yeah. Kiran is reading. Yasmin, I didn't notice you're there. Kiran is reading.
Okay. Shall I read?
Kiran is reading.
Yes. It is true that the soul can ascend into worlds of a greater consciousness beyond the earth. But it is also true that the power of these worlds, the power of a greater consciousness, has to develop itself here. The embodiment of the soul is the means for that embodiment. All the higher powers of consciousness exist because they are powers of the supreme reality. Our terrestrial being has also the same truth. It is a becoming of the one reality which has to embody in itself these greater powers. Its present appearance is a veiled and partial figure, and to limit ourselves to that first figure, to the present formula of an imperfect humanity, is to exclude our divine potentialities. We have to bring a wider meaning into our human life and manifest in it the much more that we secretly are. Our mortality is only justified in the light of our immortality. Our earth can know and be all itself only by opening to the heavens. The individual can see himself aright and use his world divinely only when he has entered into greater planes of being and seen the light of the Supreme and lived in the being and power of the divine and eternal.
Okay. Not a very big para, as Jasmine pointed out, it's a small para. So let's read what is here. It is true that the soul can ascend into worlds of greater consciousness beyond the earth. He's speaking of all the planes in general, but you can. There are so many people, yogis, who have gone to the higher planes of consciousness, like the higher mind, eleven mind, intuitive mind, and overmind even. Many have gone. But it is also true that the power of these worlds, the power of a greater consciousness, has to develop itself here. So, what is the meaning? He's saying that an ascent has been made by many, many human beings who are yogis. They have ascended to the second level, the spiritual planes of consciousness. But simply saying that's not enough. The powers of these second level have to manifest in the first level. They have to all come down. Okay? So, it is true. What he means is that a soul can ascend there. But ascension is not the only thing. There has to be a descent also. That's what he's saying. That's why using this turn of phrase, it is true that the soul can go there, but it has also come down. Okay? That's what he's saying. But it is also true that the power of these worlds, the power, the knowledge, the ananda of those worlds have to come down to the physical world. The power of a greater consciousness has to develop itself here. Here means in the physical world. Not in level 2, but in level 1. They have to come back. The embodiment of the soul is the means for that embodiment. So, the embodiment of power, knowledge, ananda of the spiritual planes of consciousness have to come down into the level 1, the terrestrial earth. And how can it be done? It can be done because of the individual. The embodiment of the individual is the way. Okay? The individual has to pull down that. Okay, that's what Sri is saying. All the higher powers of consciousness exist because they are powers of the supreme reality. The powers of the consciousness level 2, because they are powers of the supreme reality level 3. Okay, the supreme. All those powers exist, but as they keep coming down, they become more and more diminished in intensity. Okay? Our terrestrial being has also the same truth. It is a becoming of the one reality which has to embody in itself these greater powers. Now let's look at that sentence very clearly. Our terrestrial being has also the same truth. Which is our terrestrial being? Obviously, the body, vital and mind. That's a terrestrial being. Because our soul is in the terrestrial, but it is not terrestrial being. It's a spiritual being. So when he says terrestrial being, he means body, mind, life. Okay, so it is a becoming. The body, mind, life is a becoming. It's a projection from the higher levels of consciousness. It's a becoming of the one reality which has to embody in itself these greater powers. So the individual has been made because then the divine can enter more easily into the individual. Its present appearance, the appearance of the terrestrial world, is a veiled and partial figure, and to limit ourselves to that first figure, to the present formula of an imperfect humanity, is to exclude our divine potentialities. So when the Buddhists and the Mayavadins are saying the physical world is imperfect, you are completely shutting out the possibility of a divine life upon earth. And that's exactly what we do. That's why we go away from the physical world. Okay? We have to bring a wider meaning into our human life. If a divine life on earth is not possible, then there's not much meaning in the physical world, in the physical life. There has to be a meaning. We have to bring a wider meaning. And how can we do that? By manifesting the powers of the spiritual planes in yourself, in the physical world. And manifest in it the much more than we secretly are. Secretly, we are the soul, but we can be much more than that also. Our mortality is only justified in the light of our immortality. Now, Srivendra very often uses the word justify. So you have to understand why he uses the word justify. So let's start in this way. When you see the physical world and death is there everywhere and people are going on dying, you wonder, what is this? People are dying of disease, people are dying of old age, okay, people are dying by accidents, and you feel that what is the point of this? It is so meaningless. You're just there and your life is snuffed out. Take the case of a 10-year-old boy or a 5-year-old boy, okay, run over by a lorry. Okay? So what's the meaning? Why at all did he exist 5 years without accomplishing his the fulfillment of his nature, and suddenly he's snuffed out, meaningless? So Selvi is saying your mortality is justified because one day you will see that immortality will come in the physical world. So when you see immortality for yourself, then the mortality is justified. Okay. It's not meaningless. The mortality here is only a stage. That's why it gets justified. Okay? These semblers we are looking. If you don't look at immortality, mortality is absolutely a meaningless thing. You are coming and dying without developing yourself fully. Okay? That's why I'm using the word justify. Okay? I go to the next phrase. Our earth can know and be all itself only by opening to the heavens. But how can we bring down those powers here? First by ascent. You have to go there, get used to the powers of the spiritual world, and then if you have the capacity, bring them down as much as you can into yourself. The bringing down of the spiritual powers into your body mind life is not easy at all. It can be done partially, but it cannot be done without going to the supramental plane. If you go to the supramental plane, then the power to bring down those spiritual virtues, if you want, or spiritual qualities into the physical and vital and mind is possible. Okay? That's what Sandhu is pointing out. Our earth can know and be all itself only by opening to the heavens. And what's meant by all itself? You remember that the individual is a cosmic. The individual is the universe. So he has to become universal, and all of universe you can bring it down here only if you go into the higher levels of consciousness. The individual can see himself aright and use his world divinely only when he has entered into greater planes of being and seen the light of the Supreme. And seen the light of the Supreme. Okay? This is he is referring to the Gita. The change comes when Param Drishtva, after having seen the Supreme. Okay? You have seen the light of the, there is a phrase used in the Gita. After you have seen the Supreme, okay, then your life changes completely. Okay? Seen the light of the Supreme and lived in the being and power of the divine and eternal. It's not enough to only ascend to the spiritual planes of consciousness, but you also have to bring it down into your body mind life. Then it gets fulfilled. We can read one more paragraph. Okay, we are planning. Also, again, not a very big one. And Yasmin, are you there, Yasmin? Maybe she's not there.
I don't have text with me.
Okay, okay. Then
I'm
Archana,
traveling.
okay. So Archana can read. We'll finish with an integration of this time. If Archana Devi doesn't have the text or she is not on the line, then maybe Shilpa can read. Yeah. Shilpa, go ahead.
Yes. An
Rangana, I won't be
integration,
able to read. Somebody else.
Yeah.
I won't be able to.
Shilpa is reading.
an integration of this kind would not be possible if a spiritual evolution were not the sense of our birth and terrestrial existence. The evolution of mind, life, and spirit in matter is a sign that the instigation, this completed manifestation of a secret self contained in it is its significance a complete evolution of all that the spirit is and its evolutionary self unfolding are the double term of our material existence. There is a possibility of self-expression by an always unveiled luminous development of the being, a possibility also of various expression in perfect types, fixed and complete in their own nature. That is the principle of becoming in the higher worlds. They are type, they are typal and not evolutionary in their life principle. They exist each in its own perfection, but within the limits of a stationary world formula. But there is also a possibility of self-expression by self-finding, a deployment which takes the form and goes through the progression of all of a self-veiling and an adventure of self-recovery. That is the principle of becoming in this universe of which an evolution of consciousness and concealment of the spirit in matter is the first appearance.
Okay. Of which an involution of consciousness and concealment of the spirit and matter is of course appearance. So I'm just saying there has to be an integration. So, integration means even at the lowest level, the higher planes of consciousness must be very, very visible. They must be present. Right now, the divine is not present in the physical world. But it should be possible one day, because there is evolution, the divine qualities, power, consciousness, ananda, all these things should be there in the physical world. And integration, that's what it means. You have to integrate everything. You have to include everything. Okay? The integration of this kind would not be possible if a spiritual evolution were not the sense of our birth and terrestrial existence. Okay? There is an evolution, and therefore the possibility of integration is there. Bringing the higher into the lower is an integration. Okay? So, there is another way also of looking at it. Okay? Here the whole chapter in Love Divine is an ascent and integration. Okay? But here he is using integration in a different way. So when you climb from one level of consciousness to another level, you have to take the lower and assimilate it into the higher. That's ascent and integration. Here he is talking of the opposite. He is talking of going to a higher level and bringing it down into the body. Okay? So that's the integration. Ascent and then descent. Descent of ascent from your imperfect nature of body, mind, life into the power and glory and ananda of the higher levels, and then bringing down power and ananda and knowledge into the lower. Even while you are in your body, mind, life, you have the knowledge of the divine and you have the ananda of the divine. An integration of this kind would not be possible if a spiritual evolution is not the sense of our birth and terrestrial existence. The evolution of mind, life, and spirit in matter, while it is here only evolution must take place, is a sign that this integration, this completed manifestation of a secret self contained in it its significance. Contained in it is its significance. The significance of the physical world is that the divine is already here. That's the significance. A complete involution of all that the spirit is and its evolutionary self-unfolding are the double term of our material existence. The material existence, there is an involution of the highest in the lowest. Then from the lowest, there is an evolution into the highest, that's a double term. It's a double ladder, as he says elsewhere. There is the possibility of self-expression by an always unveiled luminous development of the being. As you keep rising higher and higher, at each level, you unveil that, the veil that is there at that level. And luminously, you will develop in that plane of consciousness. The possibility also of various expression in perfect types, fixed and complete in its own nature. Okay? This is the principle of becoming in the higher worlds. Okay? The higher worlds are static, he has told you, and that's what he's going to repeat now. They are typal and not evolutionary in their life principle. So, they exist each in its own perfection, but within the limits of a stationary world formula. All the higher planes of consciousness above the physical are typal beings. They are fixed types. They don't evolve. Right up to the overmind level, they are all typal. They exist each in its own perfection, but within the limits of a stationary world formula. No doubt stationary. No evolution there at all. But there is also a possibility of self-expression by self-finding, a deployment which takes a form and goes through the progression of a self-veiling and an adventure of self-recovery. So there is self-veiling which takes place and the adventure of a self-unveiling. That's what I mean by self-recovery. Okay? That is the principle of becoming in this universe. In the other universes, there are static conditions. In this universe, there is a possibility of evolution and a becoming. There is no becoming in the other planes of consciousness. There is becoming only possible in this physical world. In this universe, of which an involution of consciousness and concealment of the spirit in matter is the first appearance. First appearance is there doesn't seem to be matter. There doesn't seem to be a divine here at all. But that's only a first appearance. Then slowly, appearance of the divine quality starts taking place. Okay? For instance, first out of matter comes life, and out of life comes mind. More and more perfection, more and more perfection. So from mind now, the super mind will take place also. After that, what will happen, we don't know. But Seven has forecast that beyond the mind, it will take place. So we stop here today because we have only 2 minutes left. Okay. So from today, I am also making a note in my notebook of where we have to read tomorrow.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Thank you, Dada.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rangana.
Okay. Goodbye and have a nice day, everybody.